For decades, retirement has been sold as the finish line, a moment of freedom after years of working, and I'm going to coast into the sunset. But for many Americans today, the finish line feels like a cliff. The fear of outliving your money, losing purpose, and not knowing what the next step is. Well, we need to look at retirement. It isn't a threat. It's actually our biggest opportunity.
So today we're talking about kind of retirement and kind of the unknown nature of it. A lot of people, and we see this every day, kind of enter into retirement and they look at it as kind of like, okay, we got here, we've made it to the finish line. But that just comes with a lot of anxiety and not often, or it is often financially related, but I'd say also equally as so, just kind of figuring out what their life is going to look like now that they don't have to work anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy, because we've have several clients have retired, been in retirement, and tell you, I keep on saying it, but man, it's the lack of time. They're like, how did I even do anything when I was working? Because I get it. I mean, like you're working 40, 50 hours a week and you get a couple hours on the weekend to do what you want. And then you hit the reset button.
Yep.
Well, the reset button's gone. What do you do next? Right. And, and I think a lot of people just get into retirement and some just kind of sit there for a minute. Right. And get used to not waking up and going to work and getting in your car and stuff like that. But I see a lot of people, hobbies, clubs, time to explore, right? And I think it all just comes back from the past generations, right? They were like, we're living longer. We're more healthy. I think my grandparents died when they were like 50 or in their 50s or 60s. Mm-hmm. And, just modern technology is making there's like, hey, I'm going to retire and then it's over, right? Like I work and I die. Well, that's not the case. There's a long life after retirement for most. And being, and I can see that like, hey, I made all this money, but like, how in the heck am I going to pay my bills for the next 20 years? Because I'm not working. I'm not getting a paycheck anymore.
Yep.
Right. Well, that's why you built a nest egg to create the paycheck. You're still going to get one, but as long as we're saving the right amount of money, that's what's going on. And that's why, building a plan to account for inflation, longevity, market shifts, volatility, having a dynamic plan, like our software is dynamic, right? It builds simulations of good markets and bad markets, mixing and matching reports. It's not a linear Excel spreadsheet type of software, right? It's got, I'll call it dynamics in it, right?
Dynamic is a good word.
It's a good word. It's got a lot of things that we can't quantify. A lot of people come in and say, hey, Tony, like after first meeting, you see what I got going on here? Is it okay? Am I okay? I'm like, I'll tell you what, I've built nearly 500 financial plans. I have no idea. I really don't, because it's surprising. I'm like, man, I don't know if this person's going to be well, but like, because Or like, man, they got plenty of money, and then we run the plan. It's like, oh man, you don't, right? So it really is a dynamic plan, and it's very hard to just take a look at a few numbers and say, yeah, this looks pretty good. Off you go, because we don't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this is actually a good question here. So maybe as you guys are listening, if you want to put it in the comments, if you want to email us later on. But what is your biggest retirement fear? If you're approaching retirement, maybe you're in retirement and have gone through it already. But yeah, let us know what is your biggest fear and kind of what you did to overcome it. We'd love to hear about that.
I'd love to hear it because it could create a new show for us.
Yep,
right.
For sure.
And something that we can address. So like that would be very, very helpful for us. Yep. So that's a good one. Beyond the numbers, hidden potential, right? Wealth just isn't about money. It's about time, freedom, experiences. So again, I hear it over and over. It's like, I'm busy in retirement. Like, I don't know if I can do that, Tony. I don't know if I can come in for a few weeks. I got X, Y, and Z going on. I'm like, you're retired. And he's like, I know, man, this is crazy. I didn't know I was missing out on so much. So like, I hear that over and over and over again, right? So the thing is that maybe there's hidden potential in starting a new, like having a career after retirement, whether you start your own business or consult or volunteer. These are all great ideas. But honestly, based on my experience, this happens infrequently. It doesn't happen. Like a lot of people say, I'm going to do some part. Then they get about a month or two in and they're like, man, this is nice.
Yep.
I ain't doing that. I see it very infrequent. Mm-hmm. And another thing I just want to kind of point out is, okay, like maybe you want to be an entrepreneur, start a business, things like that. That can be a little scary because you need seed money to usually start a business.
Right.
And your seed money is your nest egg from retirement. So if you're thinking of doing that, you got to set some limitations. First, talk to the financial planner, talk to me, talk to Derek, talk to your advisor. Have it built in as a simulation inside your plan, walking into retirement, so that you can figure out the amount of money you can seed your company, your business without being a detriment to the rest of your retirement.
Yep,
but then you got to stick to that gun. Like if it's 50 grand or 100 grand, whatever the amount is, and you run out of money, you gotta hang it up. You don't chase it because that could actually wreck your retirement. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I think COVID changed a lot of kind of retirement activities because before COVID, people going back to work or doing the quote unquote consulting thing basically almost never happened. Mm-hmm. And I think that was driven a lot by the companies, the employers. It sounds good, but they don't really want to pay super high rates for part-time employees. But when COVID did hit, and everyone was desperate for employees, that really opened up. I know a lot of my clients took advantage of going back to work, earning a part-time salary. The
consulting thing is actually what I do see more, because the businesses can't find the quality help that you're about to vacate by retiring.
Yep.
Hey, can you stay on for a few months and work half the time, but we'll pay you the same amount? Whatever that, like I've seen that actually quite a bit.
Yep.
Because the employer is having a hard time filling seats, and they don't want you to leave yet until maybe they find somebody or get through a project, or it's like, hey, you cool working 10 to 25 hours a week or something like, and maybe people are, right? I have seen that.
Yep.
But most people are dying to get out of their current company.
Yeah, for sure. And beyond the numbers too, another thing I'll say, it is, you are entering the unknown, so it is scary to some degree. The piece of advice that actually one of my clients told me about was essentially have at least 3 places that you can go. So whether that's babysitting and the golf course and Kiwanis, whatever the case is, and each spouse should have their own list as well, unless obviously if they're going together, that's great, but have something in your mind that is going to help you fill the time, especially early on, because like Tony mentioned already, you're kind of transitioning, you're kind of figuring it out as you go, and having something like that solidified in your mind is going to help you transition, just because you'll have more of a sense of purpose if you have places to go and things to do.
Yeah, I see a lot of people reconnecting with friends, family, going on trips, things like that. But I like that, like 3 places you can disappear to, because they'll have some activities. Like I know golf is a big, something I enjoy doing. So going to the golf course, going to country club, whatever it may be, there's people there. They have activities, not just other things outside of just golf, right? So like that's always a good place to go. But I like that. Like think about 3 places. I like that.
Yep.
So, all right, man. I think we touched a lot. And again, just it shouldn't. I can understand it being fearful because you just don't know what you don't know. But we're, it's kind of like tales from the other side that we see every day, right? From the trenches over here, we see it. And I have very few clients saying, man, I'm so bored. It is not that. They're like, hey, I don't have enough time. I can't believe I don't know what I was doing when I was working to do all this stuff. Like it's I hear that.
Yeah, we hear it all the time.
Yeah. So the biggest fear is just like making sure you got a workable plan, make sure it's successful, make sure it's battle tested for, the things we talked about: inflation, volatility in the market, income, unexpected stuff, right?
Yep.
Like if the plan is successful, we usually run that like max spend. I don't tell people to run out and go do that because you never know, because that's what the built-in variance is for market volatility, right? Just continue to do what you want to do. And if there's, a couple things that you're a bucket list thing or two, just we're always here to run it. But, that's, I always say, I'm here as your personal CFO, right?
Exactly.
Just here to run ideas by. You don't need to listen to me, but at least you'll get maybe a different view and a different sense of what is possible.
Yep, for sure. And, I'd say we built our process around fixing these fears, right? So identifying what your fears are is really the first step, So if you're worried about outliving your money, let's build out a scenario in the plan that shows you that you're not going to.
Right.
If you're, afraid of market volatility, really hone in on the bear market scenarios that we run. If you want to make sure you have an emergency reserve for whatever may come along, set that aside, remove it from the spending and the plan, and then you'll always have that nest egg. So, it's important, to kind of identify those fears so you can confront them, and, kind of move past it as you get into retirement.
Exactly. All right, Derek, take us home, buddy.
All right. Well, thanks for listening this week, guys. Excellent topic as always. If you do have some of your biggest fears, whether you have not experienced those or maybe you've gone through it already, we'd love to hear about it. Drop them in the comments here or email us at info@swpconnect.com, and we'll talk to you next week.
The opinions expressed in the podcast are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any investment, legal, financial, or tax strategy. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry. Please consult a qualified professional about your individual needs.